So the genesis of Frontinus. So as you guys know, about just under a month ago, we did the first round of the Frontinus House, and it was the Genesis round. So yeah, we granted 10 projects, gave them some lords, and over the past few weeks, they've started building out some stuff. This is just a call. This one's more of it's going to be more of an introduction than anything. A lot of these projects are literally only have started a week or two ago. So yeah, just temper expectations that you're going to get shown like full padded out games. There's a few, as I say, a few aren't shown today. Again, they may have only started less than a week ago. So yeah, give them some dues. This call will be monthly going forward as a touch point for all Frontinus House projects and any that we add down the line. Yeah, and this will be recorded that we've just been over. So we'll actually put that link in here. Uno momento. So we have a notion that I made that will it's got a nice breakdown of all the projects building on Frontinus, and if you ever want to check in or message anyone or interested anyone that has contacts, all that good stuff, just LinkedIn dev chat, but I'll put a link or just message me if you're watching a recording. So yeah, I'll stop speaking. First up, we have OXS. Wait, I can't remember. Do I call you O or XS? Is he here?
Hi, Thomas Radio. I'm going to be stepping in for OXS. We've been running the Loot Herald together, so I'm just picking up the baton for this meeting.
Amazing.
So I'd just like to dive right in. Thanks for hosting this, and of course, thank you for organizing the Frontinus Grant and sort of reinvigorating and sparking what is deemed as new life throughout the Lootverse. So to highlight a little bit of Loot Herald, it's a common practice to almost have this open narrative for ecosystems and different NFT projects and stuff, and how broad Realms is in general. We deemed it a necessity that both O and I came upon privately, how great it would be if there was a centralized information hub that we can pick up on and follow along all these different projects and all these interesting developments going across the realms. So what I'd like to highlight a little bit is that Loot Herald's main by that storyline and narrative, so people coming from the outside can see what's being developed here, as well as people from within side. If they're working on one outpost, they can find opportunities, synergy opportunities, and collaboration opportunities from within the realms and the overall ecosystem. So we're really trying to provide this public space for Lootverse projects to discuss what they're working on and for teams to lean on each other when it's necessary. And it's important to note we don't endorse any of the projects that we're reporting on, but we want to give everyone this opportunity, whether they're bigger or smaller, and more importantly, for these smaller projects which may not have the Twitter clout or so, or the reach or the following to start building. We want to give them the platform so that they can find their voice and carve out their share in the Lootverse. And obviously, if we do report on a project and find that they are not operating within good faith, we will rescind our our support of it and like retcon everything that we've covered there. But really, overall, it's an opportunity to be here with everyone on the call and just help you tell your stories to the rest of the Lootverse and the greater blockchain community. And really, what we're building here goes beyond that. It goes into gaming, it goes into the tech side of things, it goes into just social engagement. And we would like to be that bridge for the Lootverse and Realms and the rest of the world. We launched a Substack in order to do so. We had discussed quite a few different mediums in which to release this information. Just sharing a link. And we decided on Substack as a means of clarity and easy to read, and hopefully with the eventual goal of building up our subscriber audience to then share more directly. But our main focus, for at least my main focus from within Loot Herald, is to cover the progress along the FH grant, something that was under my jurisdiction, and we had released a single one, but I took a short paternity leave hiatus, and now I am back and refocused to push that along. And I'm very excited to hear from the rest of the outposts about how their progress is going. So again, we'd like to eventually build up our own email list, and I would actually like to talk to you, Calc, about leveraging possibly Notion, because I know they have their own newsletter type thing, and I think that may be able to tie it all closer together within the Realms ecosystem. But we want to get these subscribers going so that we can start a more direct conversation with them. But for now, we are leveraging the main Loot Twitter handle, the newly established Loot Herald Twitter channel. Another link I'm going to share. Not too sorry, but anyone wants to give us a follow so that they can hear. We've been interviewing a couple of people, so if they want to read up on how that internet goes. And it also includes, the Loot Herald also includes a little bit of its own budding IP, which is this small web comic that I've been doodling almost, and it's sort of this Lootverse take called Nibs and Sir Knobs, which is a quasi-parody relationship of Calvin and Hobbes with like a Lootverse centric focus. So it's interesting to see how quickly a project like this, which was mainly supposed to be to foster information across the Lootverse, developed its own IP there. And there's room for advertisement and project promotions as well. That's not something that we're currently charging for. It's really just a means of getting more people interested. And if you have events or something coming up, we'd love to be able to share that more directly with interested parties. Running parallel to this newsletter, we would like to start reinstating the Lootverse town squares, which are the sort of roundtable town hall meetings that take place in the Loot Discord. And we'll be bringing the leading minds of Loot projects to discuss progress, exciting upcoming events within their given communities. But what's important to note is that it's not a Shark Tank. It's not for people to come on and talk about and try and garner fundraising funding. It's mainly just for information, and that's what we want to facilitate as much as possible, the sharing of information. Our next town square will be October 24th at 9 a.m. Eastern, where we will be hearing from Metaphoro on the Frontinus House infrastructure. They were the winners for the InstaSwap. I think they were number 7 on the list of the InstaSwap tokens for bridging tokens. Mississippi, who is developing an AW roguelike game. We'll be hearing from the AGLD team with an update on their loot chain, and from Loot Explorers, which is an OG loot project with friendly faces. And just to address some community concerns that we've heard, that we are providing a platform for projects that are getting their starts going, and whether or not they take that in the right direction will be determined by our team. And if we see that they're clearly trying to exploit the Loot Herald for financial promotion, it is something that will be addressed. But hopefully, we'll be able to create an opportunity for anyone to be able to hop in and get a totally itemized idea of what loot is and where they can go if they're looking for games or dungeon crawlers or all the exciting stuff, or PvPs like getting called banners, and just all the exciting stuff that is being developed here as a benefit of the Frontinus House grant.
Amazing. That was really great. Yeah, I think what you guys are doing is it's going to be invaluable to the entire autonomous world, as it were. And yeah, I'm really excited. Excited for what you guys do. Awesome. Next up, we've got Greg. If he's here.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, everyone. Hello. Can you guys hear me?
Loud and clear.
Beautifully.
Awesome. Okay, I'll give a quick introduction about everything. So obviously, thank you guys for tuning in and kind of like keeping track of what we're doing tonight. We are gonna show myself and the team. We are going to show what we'll be building with Rising Revenant. And the thing is, also, I'm not the person who is actually I don't want this project to be attributed only to Greg, but I'm gonna share some slides now, if I may, because basically, from this project, Rising Revenant, which is going to be our first game, we have decided to turn the Greg Slayer as a gaming studio. We actually included Alex Halo and Yao, which they both wanted to join the team and kind of like start building games together. Obviously, like building Dojo with Dojo and on Starknet. So as you know, myself, I'm long term holder of realms and very bullish of the space. So it is just like I felt it was just a time to kind of like start building something on top of the autonomous worlds, and here we are. So this could be like the first of many mini games that we are going to build. So obviously, I'm gonna just present some slides now, and then Alex and Yao, they will actually do the demo later. Maybe they can share some more thoughts and show what we've been building so far. So obviously, as you know, the Greg Slayer was a gaming guild at the beginning, but now we decided to fully pivot to commit to build on top of Dojo and Starknet, and obviously make the Realms Autonomous worlds richer than ever. So we're gonna focus on building arcade games, such as the one that we will present shortly, and kind of sort of play to die games, mainly focus on people on players that can actually play games that could get some value back, and obviously integrated with Realms Autonomous worlds at first, but then kind of agnostic to any other autonomous worlds. And obviously we're choosing Starknet because of its its ability of having like arcade accounts and account abstraction makes it like great for us to build fully on-chain games on top of it. So I'm just gonna go through a quick introduction of what Rising Revenant is. I'm not too sure if you guys have seen the proposal like last month, but basically like Rising Revenant is a tactical fully on-chain game. Obviously, like the lore is built on top of like what's happening on Realms and Bibliotheca DAO, and obviously it's built with Dojo and native Starknet. So I don't know if you guys have seen the actual like introduction to the game. But basically, like you will see them in a second. Actually, Alex, maybe you wanna start showing the game so I can maybe we can just like talk through it.
Yeah, sure. I can run the one now if you want. Just give me a second.
But basically, like the idea of Rising Revenant is that you will be able like to kind of like summon these revenants, which they were supposed to be dead, and you can send them into the wilds to build outposts, which then you could reinforce. And then at the end of like this like kind of preparation phase, we will have all these like revenants that will kind of like place outposts all around the map. And as soon as the this preparation phase is over, which can either end whether like the number of the total revenants are summoned or the time is up, the game will officially start, and basically events will start happening all around the game map, attacking the outposts, damaging them. The game itself is like quite like based on luck at the moment and not that tactical, but we are building it in a way that we can improve it by season. So we kind of like built this in-game seasonality, which could last between like 2 weeks and a month. So the phase will be the season will be over when the last outpost will be alive, and basically like the owner of the last outpost alive will be rewarded with basically like a jackpot of lords that have been spent in-game transactions. So yeah, Alex, if you wanna show your stream, and so we can basically like show what Alex and Yao have done. I think Yao, are you connected?
Yeah, is there. Yeah,
Awesome.
Hello. So for now, I'll just show off the demo that we have built for Rising Revenant. So first of all, the user will log in into the game, the latest game, and then you will see this view. The starting phase, like Grug mentioned, is a phase where the user can buy a Revenant and buy reinforcements. This phase, in this case, is 10 blocks, is of the length of 10 blocks. So here, if we buy a couple of Revenants, and here you can see the total Revenants summoned. This is between the whole game, everyone, and then in the profile you can actually see your own Revenants. Here we can also buy the reinforcements that we can use to reinforce our outposts against the events that also Grug mentioned, and we will see later on. So now if we make a couple of transactions just to get the blocks going. Okay, now that the Summon a Revenant button is gone, that means now we're in the stage of the game phase. So that opens up the other options on the screen. So here we have the trades. This is where we're gonna implement the UI to trade either the outposts or the reinforcements. Stats, this is just stats about the current game that we've still yet to kind of decide what we're gonna do. Rules, this is about how to play the game and the lore that maybe Grug is gonna go into maybe a bit later. We also have a little tooltip. This is for your outposts that are still alive, of course, the reinforcement that you have available, and this is theoretically your lords and your wallet. So now if we go into the map, so this game is built, the UI is built in React, and then the actual entities and map and all that is built actually on Phaser X, which is a wrapper around the Phaser game engine, web game engine library. And we've done this because first of all, I'm not really a web developer, and I feel more at ease in being in a game engine, and also because we are looking to, of course, expand this from not only 20 or 10 outposts, but to 8,000 maybe, or more than 1,000, of course. So I feel like it will be just a bit easier to deal with that many entities through a game engine. So anyway, so these are the outposts. Everything is randomly generated, position wise. You can get data about the outpost. So if we now go in the profile and we reinforce a couple of outposts just so that they will kind of survive the up and coming events. And then we also run a quick event. Of course, the running of the event will be done via a bot. This is just there because we don't have that up right now. But as you can now see here in the event feed, this is where all the history of every event is going to be. So here we can see kind of that some outposts have been hit. So the user would, theoretically, the user that owns the outpost would confirm the event, and depending on the outcome, the outpost can be destroyed or it can survive. So this has 5 reinforcements. Every event takes 1 damage from the reinforcement, so we'll go to 4. So now if we just go on, I believe right now there is an event every 3 blocks. So now here we have another, this is the most recent, so we can go back if we want to see. But so the most recent is this one, so it has hit this one. Now if we hopefully get lucky with the next few events, we can okay. What I can also do is quickly just swap to another address. So now that I've kind of swapped address, you can kind of see it from the point of view of another player. So if we go in the map, you can see that the outposts are of course not owned by the user that's currently logged in. They're purple, so the color coding goes: gray is destroyed, red is hit by the event, white is selected for the tooltip, blue is your own, and purple is your enemy. And now if we quickly go back, so now that we're back into the main account, we hopefully get lucky with the event. So of course everything is random. Let's see. Okay, so now that the second last outpost is in the event, we destroy it, and now there's only 1 outpost left. Therefore, that means that we can confirm the win theoretically, and this is where kind of the division of the lords happens, and the user gets its own rewards. And that's pretty much the game loop as of right now. Is there anything you want me to show, Krug? Or
No, I think that's pretty much it. Thank you, Alex. And yeah, obviously, like we kind of like started the development just probably just about a month ago, and we kind of like got already pretty far getting all these kind of like interactions with the blockchain and all the kind of like main game mechanics in it. Now, what we are planning to do for obviously like the next month, which is going to be the next milestone, we were planning to maybe like get the this game like actually release it on testnet and improve the UI, as well as like include some like new gaming assets. So obviously at the moment, like the game like looks pretty you know pretty empty, but obviously like this is the bare bone as a prototype. So we will also like implement some sort of like game lore, and so we can actually like have some sort of like identity and feel attached to the to these revenants and outposts, and why they are like actually like building outposts and basically sacrificing themselves. As well as obviously we're gonna implement the ERC20 lords, which will be integrated for purchasing revenants, and also for purchasing reinforcements, as well as trading. And we are planning to include like a VGA for reinforcements as well, which will only be tradable, actually, which will only be purchasable during the preparation phase, and then when the game is live, can only be tradable between the players. So that is going to be a bit of like a spice between players that maybe want to sell or not their reinforcements to basically like see other outposts die earlier than expected. And then obviously like we're planning to scale the map and the outpost and the logic of the game to display like over like 1,000 entities. So we yeah, this is where we are, and this is like the plans for the next month. If you got any questions, guys.
When testnet?
First week of November.
Oh, damn.
We're aiming to get the testnet before we go to Istanbul. So for all the lords that are going to Istanbul, obviously like the team will be there, and we are aiming to actually have it live on testnet, so we can get like feedback, do some play testing, and obviously like fixing any bugs, and just like have fun and see what we have to fix and add, remove, and so on.
I can see secretive typing, so I'll see if he's got anything to ask real quick. Okay, awesome. Yeah, damn, you guys have really came like fast, haven't you? It's like got really, really far already. So yeah, no, looks awesome. Next up is Recipromancer and Mataleone, who I've probably just butchered his name. Don't know.
Hello everyone. Thanks for having us.
G'day.
G'day, mate. As the saying goes, we're not here to fuck spiders. We're here to build an underworld. So today, Mataleone is going to be doing the streaming, and hopefully I'll be able to see it this time. I had to use my imagination last time. Okay, I can see it. This is great. So we are building an autonomous underworld as part of the Realms ecosystem. as you are probably aware. As I like to describe it, a subterranean place of a living world of drama and story, occupying the liminal space between and underneath. So we've been having a bit of fun with that. And I'm going to talk about a bunch of the things that we've been thinking about and working on today. But you know what's really fun is seeing stuff. So where we're going to start is we're going to show you some things. Over to you, Madeleine. If you're ready.
Hello. Yes, I'm Roger Mattalioni. I've been doing software development and game development for a long time, and focus on on-chain games and generative art for 2 years now. I've been building this other on-chain game called Endless Crawler, which I launched in January, and it feels like ages ago, but it's just 1 year right now when I started with this on-chain gaming thing. So, and right now we are kind of porting all the generative things that I did for my game, which is consists of game dungeon crawler chambers that are on chain on Ethereum. So we are now doing this on Dojo, but it's got a lot more to it. So I'm going to show a little bit of what we're working on. So the idea is to start making a new level under the realms, making the underworld under the realms. I started with the realms, so I can, looking at the SVG file, I can get things like all the cities and city sizes, and we created a coordinate system for the realm, so we can place the chambers, the underworld chambers, at at a realistic position inside the realm. You can see we are customizing a little bit the art, because once we have the SVG in hand, we can do things like select the city, and we can see the city selected here on the map. Maybe we can do more interesting thing like displaying the chambers that are underworld on these realms. I can talk about the coordinate system at another time, because it's like a lengthy topic. I'm preparing a presentation for this. Maybe another time I can do just about that. So this demo, I will show how we are creating this underworld under realm. So I have selected like a random realm here, any city like this one, and here I can just start creating the underworld. So the first chamber usually is like this open wide chamber that you can go for on each direction. So it's like a modular dungeon. I built block by block. Each block is one int 256 number. So it has a 16 by 16 grid, all contained in just one data type on Dojo. And this is exactly the same structure that I made for Endless Crawler on Ethereum. And on each chamber we have 4 exits. We have on the north, on the east, west, and south. And this one here, right in the middle, is the entrance from above. So we are just one level below the city here, starting the new underworld. So from here, I'm going to start creating some other connections. So I'm gonna unlock this door east, and right now I'm creating this other chamber. For this demo, I'm just showing the chamber generations and how it's working, and how we can easily start creating the underworld. So for each direction, we can start creating new chambers. And I have made like a bunch of different algorithms for generation. So each one have a little different tweak than the others. We have some like mazes, like this binary tree, and I have another the same binary tree, but to tweak a little bit, adding some more connections, some more interesting things here. And another that's like a fuzzy, more like kind of broken up world. And and also the basic ones that I use for Endless Crawler, that is based on cellular automata, like this one. We create a pixel map, and from there we start sculpting using cellular automata rules. Okay, I can show here how is the seed. Just for debugging, I can show the seed of a chamber. So this is a completely random bitmap made on chain, and from here we start sculpting and get to the final chambers. Another generator here is like the disconnections. So I can make like just connections from chamber to chamber, and make things interesting. Yeah, sometimes it's not connecting. I need to tweak some things here, but as you can see, we are using that coordinate system that I talk about. So this one is right under the city, which is here north 700 and north 700. Under one is like the first level of the Underworld. Inside the realms, we can have like 2,000 chambers for wide for north south and east west. So it gets and also 2,000 chambers underneath and above maybe someday. So it can create like a really large space here.
So a couple of I'll just jump in for a second. So a couple of things, right? So this is so each of the Underworld realms is like matched geographically to the realm above it, which is approximately 80 square kilometers by 80 square kilometers. And as Mattaleone said before, that means we're going to have probably about 2 million potential chambers per level per underrealm, with a near infinite number of levels deep. And so it's a probabilistic space. And so, you haven't explored it. Most of those don't exist. But essentially, when somebody witnesses part of the Underworld, it gets coalesced into something that becomes a permanent living space. The way in which we're basically building this sort of like modular generative system that will allow these different methods of generation to be developed. And that's not just like chosen randomly. We also have like a sort of a structure for the Underworld into ever-increasing zones. And so you might have like an individual location made up of a few chambers, and that's going to like look the same. It's going to feel the same. It'll have the same kind of art in it. We'll get into the generative art system in a little bit. And a location next to that might be very similar because it's next to it, but have some minor differences. You might go somewhere else and it will look completely different. And so that applies to the chamber generation as well. And as you're discovering the Underworld, you might discover an entirely new area, which again is like a probabilistic sort of situation. So let's say you're walking down a corridor, right? The odds of you, if it's early in the corridor, the odds of you discovering another corridor tile are pretty high. And as the corridor gets longer and longer, the odds of it being a corridor go down and down. At some point, it's not a corridor and it's a new thing, and you might have just discovered another zone. And so we can introduce essentially like governance and composability options for example, the people who discovered an area, where they can have some influence over the nature of how that area unfolds and other things like that. So we're really thinking about this from a very, let's say, architectural, autonomous worlds perspective. How do we create these like really interesting systems? And so this is essentially what we're seeing here. Back over to you, Mattaleone.
Yes, that's basically the demo that I have now. We are working on make sure that everything's being connected correctly, so we have no gaps between chambers, and also work on user interface so players can start exploring. It's not really decided right now how we're going to actually be building and opening the chambers, because as you can see, it's just easy. It's really easy to create new chambers, but we don't want to like it's a very high power the player has to create chambers. So maybe we can we have to defeat some enemy inside the chamber, so he will be able to go to the next one. Or maybe one chamber will be dark and you cannot go further until you get some light and like this chamber and be able to see the doors to go to the next chamber. So all these
Yeah,
rules, all this game, all the
I'll talk
game per
about those
se
systems in a
is
minute.
still. Mhm. Yes. So this grant this phase here is about the foundation. We are building this layer. We are building the structure so we can build new games over it. And since it's on Dojo, it's on chain. Anything can be done after this is ready. And I also have I'm building an SDK for Endless Crawler that I'm also going to incorporate all this into this SDK. So it's going to be very easy for a developer to just download the SDK as a regular JavaScript package and start creating a UI and adding some new features, new gameplay above it.
Yeah, so we're exploring a bunch of different systems here, and to mix into this. So an example of a system is a threat generator. So the threat generator essentially looks like a curve that changes over time, and that can be defined. So we can have different kinds of curves, and so as time passes, you're going to have a different degree of threat in that area, and you can have sort of like threat generators that are more specific. So there might be a threat generator for the overall underrealm, but then in a particular area, you might have a much higher degree of threat. And then as you interact with, for example, you encounter a monster in a dungeon crawler game, you interact with the threat, and the threat coalesces out of the underworld. So what we're showing here, just briefly, this is the degenerative art system. So this is all AI generated. Notice the character portrait, how it just got injured. So play that again. Yeah. So there's a few things here, but basically we're generating textures, sprites. That's a generated avatar. And the damage being done to the avatar is also AI generated. So what that means is you can take any character profile and you can describe any injury being done to that character profile and make that dynamic. But also, because this is generative, it means that when we have an endless underworld, we can have like an art direction system that will be flowing out of the metadata of the location that will create a thematically and narratively consistent area. Now, we're going to make this a autonomous world system. So this is going to be essentially self-sovereign, open source, generative AI system that any autonomous world system should be able to use. Obviously, it'll take us a while to get to the point where that's the case. And so we're going to take these chambers in this exploration and we'll be able to present it in this way. So briefly back to threat generators, right? So you're wandering around the underworld and threat coalesces. So it's a dangerous place. When you go into the underworld, it is a dangerous place. And you have to take a risk. You're risking life, limb, your gold, and other things that you take into the underworld. And the threat is a sort of a way of manifesting that. And so the deeper you go into the underworld, the more dangerous it's going to get. It also turns out that there are resources in the underworld, and that by risking life and limb, you might be able to acquire some of those, and they might be quite precious. In fact, they might play a role in the economy of Eternum. An example of such a resource might be the dark tar that seems to correlate quite strongly with threat in the underworld, and it might be make quite a tasty brew. It might be quite useful for building some kinds of things. In fact, you might even be able to build some kind of a resource extraction building in the overworld that can extract dark tar from the underworld, which, by the way, would literally be pulling that resource out of the physical area of the underworld and where it's produced and extracting it up in a sort of more automated way instead of you having to kind of go in and fetch that stuff. However, because dark tar is dangerous, you might also then be risking incursions into your realm that might impact the economy. So we're exploring these kinds of ideas. Obviously, everything's early, so we have a lot of iteration to do to figure things out. So that's some of the stuff. Essentially, like an autonomous world is a living space. It's built from the contributions of the participants. And so we're also exploring these ideas of how governance can flow from the different kinds of contributions that are not finite, right? It's not like you issue like 10,000 tokens and then that's distributed amongst people for governance. It's like, for example, as you explore the underworld, you might accumulate some form of specific governance power in the underworld based upon your explorations. So here we're showing some of the fantasy roleplay kind of stories that I like to make with some pixel art. We're trying to evoke the, kind of bring the underworld to life. Also, if you pay any attention, these are full of alpha and teasers, just between you and me. Just like to sneak things into them. We really want this to be a place that kind of comes to life, where it's a place of story and drama and loss and opportunity, not just like a sterile environment. Another example of a system we're playing with is the idea of light and darkness. Light is a finite resource in the underworld, and it becomes a very dangerous place when it's dark. And so one idea we're playing with, we don't know if we can do it yet, but we're really interested to, is the idea that when you run out of light, neither you nor the underworld knows exactly where you are anymore. Your location just became probabilistic. And when you get light again, you might discover that you are somewhere you didn't expect to be. And that's interesting in an on-chain, ZK context as well, because it means that actually other people can't know where you are either in that moment. And that could have utility as well. And perhaps there'll be some kinds of drama farming stuff and playing with ideas like players being able to essentially skinwalk monsters and create sort of emergent chaos that's not just coming from the systems. And so, by the way, and that could be like players that don't have whatever access to be able to, access economic areas or whatever. They might be able to come in and like wander around the uncoalesced parts of the underworld as a monster. We're exploring resource loops. We're doing a whole bunch of stuff. Okay, so I'm gonna shush. I'm gonna stop rambling on. We're working on basically trying to also articulate a bunch of this stuff that we're working on, because it's obviously quite ambitious. And that's just going to take a bit of doing. But our goal is to build in the open. So we're kind of trying to get to the point where we can start creating a feedback loop with you, the community. We're really interested to integrate with a bunch of other projects. We're already making a banner where we're looking and exploring ideas on how we could integrate with crypts and caverns. We'd love to have revenants spilling out of the underworld. Like, we want to basically like play with everything that's happening here. And if we can help you to win, we're happy. This is our view, very positive sum and long term about this. We're really excited to be here. We love what's happening. That's how we feel. Do you have Madeline, do you want to show the do we have the banner art? Do you have that up?
Yes, I will switch here.
So this is just a little teaser of what we're working on. I don't think it's switched
yes,
over.
I had another window, but I'm no find this window here. Oh, I should. No.
There it is. So we have here our it's just photos of a screen. This is like the spicy way to show things. So we have like that's like a background that we're working on for our banner, and then this is we like to call this Edgar Allan Poe and you. We'll add a little crow as well, I think. What's fun about this is that the skeleton will be behind the banner, so you won't even be able to see him, which we think is fun. Yeah, and that's me done. Do you have anything else you want to talk about today, Madeline?
No, I think that's it. And just the way we are building the Underworld under the realms, it can also be under any other place, any other world inside any other on-chain game, because the way I'm indexing the chambers, and we can go, for example, from the Underworld on the realm to the Underworld under Crypts and Caverns or the Underworld under the Risk or any other place. And that's it. And thank you for this opportunity. I'm really having a lot of fun doing this. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys. That was awesome. I think we need a full evening for your guys. But yeah, awesome. Thank you. Next up we have Wallum.
Hello.
Hello.
We're beginning the Australian takeover of the whole ecosystem. Just
Oh, there's
started
more.
close. So we are here to fuck spiders, as you'll see later in our presentation. But yeah, thanks for staying till the end and listening. Do I have permission to screen share?
Yep, you should be able to. Is it letting you?
Does that work? I think so.
Got it.
Awesome. So yeah, hey everyone. Our project is Arcane Assembly. I'm here with my teammates Celery and Lychee. And I describe Arcane Assembly as like a combination between Magic the Gathering and a Tamagotchi. So it's like a solo strategy card game that's like, yeah, also going to be a play to die style arcade game in the Realms Autonomous World. And so I guess being like a physical card game first, we've actually spent like a lot of this past month like working on the cards themselves and actually like physically playtesting them, which has been a whole lot of fun. And so yeah, I guess I'd like to show you a few different things. They're kind of all scattered around, but they hopefully will paint a pretty good picture. So the first thing is all of our cards. So there's like over 80 different cards, which kind of are in different categories, and they have various stats and whatever. And our single source of truth of all of this is this Google Sheet. And from this Google Sheet, a lot of the generation of the card assets themselves and actually the code inside the game all kind of flows down from this. So as we want to balance it and we playtest it and want to change something, we can change a number in the spreadsheet, which will then also change our Cairo code. And when you regenerate the card printout sheet, it'll change all of those. And that's been a really nice way to work. So something I guess I wanted to share. Currently, this like describes our like current state of where we're at. So green things are like marked as done, and we're slowly kind of working our way up this tree of things. And when we get to the top, we'll have hopefully both a physical card game and a Starknet game. And so what's been nice as well is how beautifully like a physical game like translates to being an on-chain game with Dojo. Like the mapping between those things is just like so nice and easy to use. And I think like if there were to be an initiative, like we could probably port every single board game that exists into a Dojo game with like not a whole lot of effort, and that would be quite a fun thing to do. So I do have a demo to show, but I think before that, I'd like to show some little pieces of code and also some things I've generated. So these are all like cards, and this describes the kind of card you might encounter in the game. So the gameplay loop, you're basically trading off between... you're trying to construct a spell as part of this game, and you're trying to make the spell as powerful as possible, but you don't want it to become too powerful and overtake and destroy you. And so to build this spell, you kind of source ingredients from different regions, which are like the cave, the volcano, the mountain, and the forest, which have different elemental traits to them. And when you go out to forage ingredients, you have to leave the spell alone. And when you leave it alone, it kind of becomes more chaotic and risks exploding. And when you gather ingredients, these can help you bring it back under control or also increase its power based on various conditionals. So this is the strategy you're kind of trying to tread to keep your Tamagotchi spell from descending into chaos and destroying you and ending the game. So here's an example of what a card would look like, generated directly from the spreadsheet. And they have various conditionals that will alter the power based on its current, the spell's current stats. So we'll look at a few. These ones are in the cave. One's from the forest, which is, I guess,
one of the elements.
Yeah, borrowing from the realm's assets. And yeah, so you can, if you want, you can go to our repo, you can run the card generation script, generate all of these and print them out and start playing yourself. And that would be a cool thing to do if anyone feels like doing that. I guess something else I wanted to share is how this translates into Cairo. So we have all of these files that are generated. Actually, it also follows the ECS style, not exactly the same way as Dojo does, but it basically generates all of these lookup tables in Cairo, where you can look up the stats of all the different cards based on their card index. And it works really well. It seems to be reasonably efficient and like allows the game to encode like a lot of data from all of these cards in a very kind of simple way. And then based on these lookup tables, there are various actions, the highest level one being enact card, which literally just takes a game ID and a card ID and will enact whatever is described on the card to your current spell. And so in terms of like making various stat changes and like checking various thresholds. And so I think that's all I wanted to show in here. And so maybe we'll look at a little demo. So in parallel, I guess we have like a few different pieces moving at once. So we've got the physical card game, got the Cairo one. We also have like a game client that we're working on. And what we kind of wanted to figure out is like, how do you translate the kind of feel of a tabletop card game into a client? And so our first one was firstly very ugly, but also like it happened very quickly. Like you could kind of just click and play through a whole game in almost no time at all. And so some of the design goals for this were like, how do we slow it down? And I guess, build tension in the same way that rolling a dice on the table does. And so what we have is kind of like inspired by the visual novel kind of paradigm. And so I guess I'll just run through a quick playthrough. Disclaimer, this is not using a Cairo backend right now. This is just using a JavaScript one. But it's designed so we can switch them out later when we've gathered enough kind of playtesting through this one, which is easy to share. And so, oh yeah, we have music, which our friend made for us, which is beautiful.
Does that go through?
I don't know if it goes through. But basically, before you begin, you have to pay a sacrifice, which will be the sacrifice in Lords required to play to die. So of course, be a transaction on Starknet. And the way that like a visual novel kind of slows you down actually gives plenty of time for the transactions to go through, and I think it will be quite seamless. So the gameplay loop, your spell has some levels of power and chaos, and some number of barriers, which are a bit like death saving throws in D&D. And the gameplay loop allows you to choose from a number of different actions. So I already described you can forage. You can also summon a familiar, which can forage for you. You can study, which builds up your different abilities and unlocks more actions. And you may approach the spell, which is where you can essentially do your saving throws to see if it is going to chaotically, explode. And that's where you add new components to then alter its stats and hopefully keep yourself alive as long as possible. So we'll go through maybe one or two loops. So you forage in a particular region. Maybe we'll forage in the cave. And this is essentially drawing from one of the decks on the table. So you find a particular component, and this is the influence it will have on the spell when you cast it in. While you're away, the spell becomes more chaotic. There's nothing you can do about that. Every time you forage, there'll be more chaos. So maybe we'll forage one more time, maybe in a different region. let's visit the meadow. I'll place all right. All right. Oh no. Okay, this is stuck there now. That's a bug. But when you then approach the spell, this will perform the kind of check. And we passed, thank God. And we can add in a component. And then this will perform some changes. It became darker. Maybe we'll add in another one. And we'll leave. And maybe we'll approach the spell once more. There's no reason you would do this right now. But we'll just want to see if it might fail a saving throw and lose a barrier. Okay, passed again. But anyway, I won't take up too much more of your time, I think, because we're running a bit over time. But that's the bones of what we have. And yeah, it's been great working with Dojo, and we're really excited to see where we go from here. Cool, thanks.
Oh man, that was amazing. That was great. If you guys, I know you guys are doing a lot of testing, so we could totally set up a testing channel like the Loot Survivor one if you need it. But yeah, awesome. Next up, we have Loot Royale with OX Brawler.
Hey, hi.
Hello.
Everybody. Hello?
Good morning. Hello, got you.
Morning. Can everybody hear me okay? Oh no. What does that
Sound
mean?
good?
Sound good, okay.
Okay.
Can hear you.
Oh.
Yep.
All right, cool. I'll just be doing a quick rundown of the current progress of the game. We've previously been building with mud for disclaimers. So we're doing some stress testing, and then we're moving towards dojo based, where basically we find a lot of benefits using the Tori indexer as well as the Amadura nodes. But just for experience's sake, we show the screen a little bit here. Can you guys see the screen? All right. Cool. So basically, Royale is a multiplayer, almost in sync, but it's turn-based battle royale game where everybody kind of just comes in and then they stake token. Once they stake token, they basically come in and get ready. And players will be spawning in different locations on the map. And then you have these little loot boxes here where the loot boxes generate power of in a range of -65 to -65 to +65. And you'll be basically having either taking a random number generator from the block hashes, taking a hash of the block heights, or you can take more interestingly, you can take some fighting results from Loot Survivor and take that into the number that are getting generated inside the loot boxes. Or do some other VRFs that are further being integrated with StarkNet. And then basically, you'll be basically clicking on these yellow boxes and start moving on the map. You can also start chatting here. So there's two core gameplay here. So one of them is very obviously trying to farm more loots and then get power-ups. What you can see here is player one just getting 164 fighting power, which is quite good. But obviously, when people kind of work together, there's a social element to it where player one and player two can say, "Hey, currently player player 4 is the weakest, let's take him out first, or player 1 is too powerful, we should focus fire on him instead of just fighting against each other. So you see here, typing in the chat and basically saying, oh, let's get more boxes before we start fighting each other. So that's what they did. People starting to kind of just type, get more loot boxes out of it. And then there's also people chatting. Right here is which player we should kill first, and then you'll be basically scheming against or kind of work together with. Further down the road, we'll be having these in-game proposal systems where if players agree to work with each other, they'll be able to they'll stop being able to attack into each other for the next 30 blocks or 40 blocks in the period of time where they agreed to. So there's a kind of smart contract governed gameplay or social contract governed gameplay that makes the game a little more interesting. There's even kind of game theory type things where 2 players at the end of the round, or 3 players at the end of the round, start working together and then decide to split the staked lore token. And there's interesting 3-3 scenario, kind of just like profit split scenario where that rise out of it. Right now, you can basically see me trying to chase out the other player, until basically the red player gets cornered by the green player, as well as the kind of blue player here. And then the battle kind of ends there. So that's part of it. There's a social element to it, and then everybody's like, "Oh, okay, we need a miracle. We need the 47 fighting power player being able to win," and then because it's a function of probability of the existing fighting power, so there's always a chance where the lower fighting power player wins. So everybody started watching and typing in the chat, and then eventually the 47 fighting power player win, and then that kind of concludes the game session. Per game session is about 5 to 7 minutes. And then outside of that, how does that integrate with the existing kind of current loot bag as well as realms NFT? So we'll be running these kind of. This is currently using Stable Diffusion XL together with the Anthropic chatbot. But then further down the road, you can use Bakayo's compute or things like EZKL to generate these images fully on chain. And then basically what you see here, Heavy Boot of Brilliance, Wool Gloves, these are all metadata from the loot bag NFT. And then you'll be generating these characters. We'll be encouraging player to put more kind of description, storytelling around these. And then with the top ranked, most viewed content will be selectively making those into these characters, and then release it in the next month. And then obviously there's also very interesting elements within the realms NFTs as metadata, where you can take the fantasy map generator and then start putting maybe kind of a rock here, and then if you stand on a rock, your attacking your some kind of defense system is up by 25%, or there's like water here, kind of little river here that blocks the movement from one side to the other. So that we'll be making those maps every maybe 2 maps a month, and then to change up the gameplay a little bit. A few other things that we find kind of the dojo stack useful here is being able to just having a stronger indexer and being able to customize your indexer is very, very important, especially for these multiplayer games. And then they're also running Madara nodes, because we did some stress testing and then kind of we broke the RPC for quite a bit for 2 times. And then we find that being able to self-host your Madara nodes is quite important. There's also even interesting kind of ZKP design where 0x Park kind of released the Ziggy Hunt, where we think potentially you can use CKPs using Chiral VM to do some kind of a stealth battle, but then that's kind of in the process of designing it. We're making more technical planning because the current version is kind of done, and then we're porting this and then just making this into the Dojo stack with Chiral language. So that's kind of where we are right now. Yep. I should end the stream. Okay. Yep.
Gotcha. Oh man, that looks freaking amazing too. What the heck? These have all looked fantastic.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll give it 1 minute for any questions. But yeah, oh, awesome. So that was the last one for today. The next one will alternate times, so it'll be probably about 12 hours prior from this one. But yeah, if there's no questions, that's us done. That was amazing, guys. Thank you very much to everyone who presented. It was amazing. Thank you. Yeah, that's it. Okay, cool. Great. This will be uploaded on YouTube probably within the next day or two, or whenever Scuddy gets a chance. But yeah, thanks everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. This is really fun.
Thanks, loads.